So welcome to another round 1 game of TWC 11 between Diege86 and ReallyUnskilled. So in this round 1 game, we got ReallyUnskilled as the blue HRE player. As the red English player, we got Diege86. So I wonder if the HRE player is just going to go for a fast Burgrave, because it really seems to be the meta way to play them on these small rush distance maps at the moment. Well, Diege, wonder if he's going to try applying the pressure in Age 2 with a wood food army, or if he's going to try going for that fast Age 3 for the palace and smash out all the villages with a second town center as he goes to Age 3. Because getting that Age 3 and that second town center in one is a really nice boon to the English, but not to say the Age 3 landmarks for the other civs are any less important, because like I said, that Burgrave build at the moment makes for some really decisive early mid game for the HRE player, because he can just overwhelm people with a flood of man-at-arms, throwing in spears if they need to, if they're up against knights. It's really hard to stop, because then you've got to go up to like 5 ranges or 5 stables to really do something about it in response. So both our players have only gone for the 1 scout, I think. There are 2 scouts here for ReallyUnskilled, only the 1 for Diege. So both these players having to sacrifice villager train time in order to do so. And Diege, considering he's wanting to go for early farms, and he's gone on the hunt, which is a pretty nice safe hunt. I like this, that he's already committing to the hunt while it's this, because it's this safe. It's only about as far away from the TC as his berries are, and he's going, fuck it, I might as well reap the extra gathering out of that, and also preserve my sheep eco for later. So really nice stuff from him. So really is ready to age, and Diege, if he wasn't going for farm eco, would also be ready to age, but farm eco is really efficient for English, and you might even want to get an early wheelbarrow. So we've got 2 villagers making the council hall, so you probably can look at going up to 4 farms and taking wheelbarrow early on here, or preparing himself to go into Age 2 with some eco techs early on, or go straight to military and apply the pressure. I like this. Arch and Chapel in range to hit everything. So ReallyUnskilled didn't actually shuffle his sheep across, which is nothing too major, because at least he's empowering all his sheep villages. So he's empowering 5 villages rather than empowering only 3 over here on the gold mine. Although I think he was empowering the gold mine villages earlier, which to get the quicker Age 2 is fair enough, but now that he's got Age 2 on the way, you might as well empower the food vills, empower more vills at once. Does empower work for... No, it doesn't work for building, it only works for gathering. So if you can, you sort of want to avoid having your prelate around builders, because it's not going to be of any consequence, nor is it going to be of any consequence to villagers actually wandering through. So if your prelate's wasting time empowering them, try and send him somewhere where he'll just be empowering more gatherers. Sorry, I'm just particular with use of the prelate early on. It's less of a sin to get the prelate late than it is to park the prelate next to 2 villages and empower fuck all. Okay. Well, what's going on there? ReallyUnskilled's gone for an outpost and then cancelled it. Got a racks in the council hall. He's going to go for the outpost now. I think he must have needed to cancel it to cram out the house, perhaps. But yeah, Arch and Chapel, just a really nice age 2 landmark, because particularly if you can get this sort of spread of your resources where it's empowering literally everything you're gathering at the start of the game. So efficient, man. You're going to be able to have a better eco than pretty much any other Civ early game, because 1-to-1 your villagers just outgather all the other Civs when they've got empowerment. So even say against French with their reduced villager train time, you're still going to outscale them economically. It's just that you got to be very good with initial prelate use. A lot of villagers building that one building when they could have already started gathering there. That's another thing. A lot of players, even top level players I notice, aren't necessarily making the greatest use of their villagers when building, and realizing that, oh, the building's 3/4 built and I've got 10 villagers building it. Well, I can rally all but 2 of the villagers to get to work on it, and I'll finish the building before the villagers have actually got to walk back. It's like, guys, you could get extra gathering in here, and you could get less penalized from, what's it called? Diminishing returns on having multiple villagers building something if they spend less time building together. What you can even do is have 2 villagers build something, send one to initially start gathering, have one build the building halfway, swap them over halfway. It's the most efficient way to actually do it. Other than the walk time that you might incur while they're swapping, it's 100% efficient. Anyway, efficient gathering aside, I've played a lot of RTS games, so it helps. My theoretical understanding is better than most of the top levels. It's just my applied side of it is awful. Nah, I've just got a lot of RTS games experience and got to understand, I guess, the philosophies of a lot of the really efficient gatherers in other games. And a lot of these guys probably do have more experience than me in the other titles. And funnily enough, it's just that I guess I'm applying their knowledge. But yeah, even people like Hutt, who's like the best player in Australia at the moment, you'll see him have 2 villagers build a lumber camp at the start. It's like, man, come on, have one villager build it, have the other one gather and swap them over. Don't be lazy. You could get like 2 extra resources out of that 10 seconds of building. Come on, man. We've got a lot of buildings on the way here, and a Regnitz, so no fast Burgrave. Really is not going to worry about some crazy push at this point. He's going to have to deal with the crazy push here from Diege. He's got plenty of bowmen and a couple of spears. There's already going to be a fortify outpost here. I like this because it should kick in time for the army to push. And it just means that Diege really can't actually push into this. So Diege already has his siege engineering. He's going to get steel arrow. He's mostly bowman comp, and he's going to try and lock down this center sacred site, which I do like. But this defensive outpost, this fortified outpost is going to make this really hard for him to push into without bringing several rams or bringing a mangonel or a trebuchet. So the scout does catch the prelate, but it's not going to be enough to kill him. And if this gets 2 relics in it, it's going to be 400 gold a minute, which is huge. So Diege is going to respond with his own outpost, and the beauty of the English outpost is when you've got enemy units or buildings in the site radius, which this one is, you trigger an attack speed buff on everything. Even rams benefit from this. Rams benefit from network of castles, guys. So 25% attack speed. It's a free stim. So this ram's actually going to fall quite quickly because this has only got the bow upgrade. It hasn't got springled. There's a scout here harassing, but really might lose this if he's not careful. So he is going to lose the scout. But the meanwhile, Really is going to pick up another relic. And he's going to pick up another 2 relics, but I think this one's going to get sniped because there is going to be a bowman to come across and deal with him. And meanwhile, Really was going to try and put his houses there, but I think he's going to just shift them over the back of his base now. Does have some knights and some man-at-arms. Ooh, and that's a really nice use of the emergency repairs there. But Diege snipes the prelate, so really he's going to have to get another prelate out. Does slow him down because he's got to spend a little bit of gold to do so. And so Diege catching 2 prelates is great for him, but at the same time he's fighting bowman v heavy melee, which is really rough. Even for English, archers just can't cut the mustard against heavy melee. You need to have crossbowmen by that stage to really deal with such a heavy front line. You need to have a heavy back line in response. And so now Really he's going to be able to push out against Diege, who's really just starting to wall off his base now. And so Diege going to go for King's Palace, which, like any keep, town center or outpost, does provide that attack speed buff as well. So it's going to be hard for Really to try and siege this, because now he's got to get through the walls, and by the time he does, the English player is going to have access to age 3 tech, so he'll be able to go for a couple of ranges. He probably didn't need to rally that many workers. Really rally 2 for each building if you want to build them quickly, or 1 if you just want to get them up efficiently. And yeah, he's got to get the King's Palace up anyway, so more villages on that probably would have been more ideal here, because now he's going to have them building it anyway. And he is going to need a shitload of gold and food to actually survive this. And he probably, if he had more wood gatherers, could have even crammed out a 3rd range, which I think he's going to need, because this King's Palace is now going to kick in, but he's not going to really have the production to be able to work his way out of this now, I think. Because his own man-at-arms still need an upgrade. He can't really get longbowmen. They're not cost-effective at the moment. He needs... It's smart to get the crossbowmen, but he needs to rally them in behind the range, I think. Or at least rally them to the far side of where the Really's army is. And I think he can survive this, but like I said, he probably needs to just work on getting enough wood for 1 more range if he wants to make it out of this. Because I think 2 crossbowmen at a time is going to be really rough. They're just going to get picked off like this. He sort of needs 3 being produced in tangent to try and overwhelm this, because while this is going on, ReallyUnskilled has full map control. He can take the rest of the relics and he can add more production and just keep on backing this up. As if he keeps parade pushing here, which you can pretty much afford to do so, it becomes really hard for Diege to make it out of this. And Diege, I think, has realized this. He needs to do or die, get out here and keep gathering, even though he's got these units in his base, and he needs to get all the value he can. So he's up to over 150 wood. He can throw down a 3rd range somewhere. He probably needs to just drop half the villages out of here, throw down a sneaky range over here, and get the early man-at-arms upgrade, and just try and fit some of them out as well, just so he's got a front line. So nice kiting around there, but now the man-at-arms are going to have to... Now the man-at-arms are after the crossbowmen, they're going to have to try and sit under the town centre. Ooh, I think Diege needs some of these villas back in the town centre. Like, having some out to gather is good, because he needs to keep gathering to keep producing, but at the same time he needs enough static defense fire to give him the cover that he can keep the crossbowman production up. And I don't know, Really has really locked down the game from here, because Diege can't leave his base, he can't keep producing. The 3rd range is coming in now, but it might be too little too late, and on top of that, Diege's now out of gold, so he can't just keep spamming crossbowmen. He's going to have to make a mix of crossbows and longbows. Like I said, by this stage of the game, longbows sort of fallen off until they get access to arrow volley again, because it just gives them that much attack speed that their crappy light attack and ends up being useful because they do outrange every other ranged unit other than siege units. But yeah, until they get arrow volley, crossbowmen have really longbowmen really fall off at this stage of the game, and you need basically endless crossbow production with some form of melee. No barracks now, so really sniping that barracks as well is quite huge, because now Diege either has to get a barracks or a stables to give himself a bit of a front line for these crossbowmen, because you can stutter step them all day, but without something to just lock down your opponent, snare him, or get in the way, he can just overrun with knights. And on top of that, Sacred Victory now on the cards for Really, who's pulling ahead in score at the moment. And Really still committing to a just about pure melee build, even adding some landscapes in. So these guys, I don't know what they really do other than having a nice area attack. I mean, having a couple in amongst your man-at-arms is just nice for the AoE, but at the same time, you don't want to get too many. I think Really's doing a good job here with that proportion of them, because you only want enough that you just pepper in some nice area damage, but they're actually much squishier than your man-at-arms, and I think they're just about as expensive. So it's really only the fact that you can get a bit of nice splash damage off that you really want them, because particularly a civ like English, they might actually try and fight Vil V units at this stage of the game just to keep their crossbow ball alive. Diege's got to do what he can to try and micro the villagers back to garrison individually through this, which he hasn't done, which is really hurting him, because even though he's getting the crossbow kills, he's dropping villagers. He's got villagers not gathering. And GG, he has to tap out from there. So really unskilled, proving to be quite skilled.